Americas, one thing on the 2020 test, they're not going to do the full ID anymore, but let's still look at the function, what it's famous for, and the form. The one thing IDs be aware of style. I'll talk to you why later. So let's take a look at these. Okay, so first is front piece Codex Mendoza. It's a very important image. I know this one really well, really know this one well. Function, it's a codex, it's got information. The front piece is the cover. It's the history of the Aztecs made for King Charles. Famous because it got captured by pirates, but also Aztec artists did the art, and they worked with the Spaniards telling the history of the Aztecs. The form, it has Aztec pictograms, which are pictures about the founding of Mexico with the symbol of the eagle and the cactus. The skulls, somewhere in there are skulls, that's like human sacrifice. And the issue of time. The Europeans believe in linear time, like 1400s, 1500s, 1600s. So this document tells time in a European way, historically, such as the Aztecs conquered and the Aztecs were conquered. But they also have the circular time of the Aztecs here as well. And that's a good comparison. We'll look at it right later. All right, lots of Aztec stuff here. Templo Mayor, function, human sacrifice, famous for the human sacrifice. Form, two pyramids were like two mountains. Represents the gods represents the gods throwing people from the mountain. All right, comparison there between the two. All right, Coyotl stone, function, it's a symbol of a dismembered goddess at the base of the temple, famous for that sacrifice goddess, violence, the dismembered goddess that was thrown from the Temple Mount. The form, cut, dismembered. Cut to Jesus' suffering there as well for a connection. All right, calendar stone, another really important one. Function, it was a calendar of Aztec time. It was also used at the altar of murder and human sacrifice. It's the history of eras. Eras begin and they end in death. It's famous for time, and the era, Aztec time is circular in nature, so you can see it as a circular calendar. And it's with the idea of, there's a knife in the tongue, the idea of human heart, human sacrifice is also in there. The form is circular, the tongue is a knife, it's got the four cardinal directions. Know that one well. All right, ruler headdress function. It's a ceremonial headdress. Probably Montezuma owned it. It's famous for transformation. When he wore it, the feathers would move and he'd transform into something majestic. Don't worry about this one too much. It was found at Templo Mayor. It's an Olmec mask. All right, now we'll go to the Mayans here. And the Mayans are basically have three images, but basically Yaxtlan is a city. This is a structure 40. It was an important building in the city, built by the ruler Bur-Jaguar. It's famous because Jaguar built these monumental structures. The form, it's a high terrace looking over a plaza of a city. All right, this one I'd know well. It's a lintel. A lintel is a sculpture which is part of the building. This one honors Lady Zoc, famous for a woman of high status. She's being honored. The whole building honored her, and she's doing a bloodletting ritual, letting blood out or sacrifice, similar to the Aztec idea, where you would want to give your blood or give back to the gods. She also was invoking a serpent, kind of like a shaman, and having to do with spirit and the rise of her spirit. Connection, another famous, powerful woman, Theodora Mosaic. Structure 33 is just a function. It's a temple, part of the city. It's a great building. The Aztecs made great buildings, had a large central room. Similar to, oh, there you go. All right, Spain, Americas, let's go to Mexico. Virgin Guadalupe we did last time. Valley of Mexico, this is famous for being like a romantic painting of Mexico, but it was also used as a means of praising, almost propaganda about the beauty of Mexico, the natural beauty of Mexico. So the function was, it was making a statement about how great Mexico is. The form is idealized landscape, a lot like a romantic painting. Good Oxbow connection. All right, the Incas, Peru. Okay, Chavindin Huantar, it has four images here. This is before the Incas. All right, first, there's the floor plan. Function, it was a religious capital, had a temple in it. Famous sacred site of the Lanzón, the Dark Temple. Pilgrimage location. People would come from everywhere to visit this site. The form was an open plaza, a lot of times dramatic, U-shaped on the cardinal points, maybe similar to Versailles. Famous is Lanzón Stela there, the very, very famous oracle. The function, this made noises and could be almost like an oracle or a psychic. It was the center of the pilgrimage. Most people couldn't go there, but they would want to. Famous, sacred, it made sounds, it was spooky, it was a powerful figure. The form, part animal, part human. Claws, fangs, head of a snake, face of a jaguar, part human, part animal. Pilgrimage church like St. Foy. Nose ornament, function jewelry. This would transform you with the supernatural power of the animal. Famous snake icon, animal power, form as a serpent or a snake. Also, as a relief structure, this one has a jaguar icon. Again, that theme of animal power. All right, to the Incas. 4 images here for the Incas. City of Cusco was the historic capital of the Incas, famous for the Inca Empire. Apparently, the form was in the shape of a puma, another royal animal, similar to the Athenian Agora floor plan. All right, the main temple, Quircancha, lots of stuff here. The function was, this was the main temple of the Incas. It was the center of the Inca world, central to the gods. It was also an observatory and then became a church. Famous, most important Inca temple. It was covered in gold back in the time and then turned, repurposed into a church. The form in the old days had gold on the outside, interior courtyard of the golden enclosure, and this wall technique of the Incas called ashlar masonry, the way they would make their walls, famous. All right, it probably had gold in the old days. Nice comparison with Versailles being the center of the universe. All right, there are the walls, famous destruction, very durable through the earthquake, ashlar masonry walls. And similar to that. Okay, Maize Cob. This was a sacred garden in that main temple, and it represented the crops and the cosmos and the ecosystem of the empire, or maybe it ensured prosperity. Beautiful metalwork stolen by the Spanish. Repoussé is hammered metal naturalism. All right, Machu Picchu. This is the famous complex in the mountains. So its function was, it was a retreat for royal rulers. Famous because it's built into the landscape with terrace. So the form is mountain, terrace. You integrate it into the landscape. A lot of the buildings were trapezoidal shaped. They liked that shape connection, kind of similar to falling water, integrated into the landscape. It was staying there. Also had an observatory function. They would chart the sun movement, and it was famous for the walls. And also staying there, this one meant hitching posts. And this was a function. This would tell you when the spring and summer equinox would come. And I'll just show you, like Stonehenge. When it was right above the sun was here, there's no shadow. That told you when it was the spring or the fall. So it's like a calendar, similar to Stonehenge. All right, their tunic there for Inca. This is a tunic, clothing, but it also represents status and income and power. Famous because the cloth and dye was really expensive, and some symbols represented high status. The form was small rectangle shapes, totaku, and had used symbolic abstract design. It's a reach, but the abstraction of the fibula here, we have abstraction here. All right, North America, transformation mask. Okay. Function, during a ritual, it opens and closes. With the music, there's a transformation there. It's famous for this transformation, and the ritual shows a connection with the animals and the clans. Human, animal, human, animal. The form, it's stylized. Similar to elephant mask. Know that one. Know this one really well. Be ready for transformation mask. All right, Southwest, Mesa Verde. Okay, this is the ancient people, the Pueblos, and their function, it was a dwelling, famous because they disappeared. They built the residences into the cliff and they just disappeared. The form is natural homes in the cliff, similar to Machu Picchu and the Four Corners region. I know this one well too. Brush up on Mesa Verde. And again, integrating into the landscape. Staying with the Pueblos for a second, black on black. This is Maria Martinez. She was the Pueblo, which is a tribe of people in here, in this area. So these are the ancient Puebloans who disappeared. She is famous because she took ancient Pueblo art and resurrected it as a fine art. And she made beautiful ceramics, and it's famous for using traditional Pueblo techniques in the modern era, celebrated the Pueblo culture. Black on black, shiny and matte contrast, traditional technique. All right, painted elk hide. This is in Wyoming at a reservation. The function, okay, this has two. It originally was a robe, and it celebrated a Native American warrior's deeds, and it narrated the events of the hunt and things like this. But this is 1890. It became, tourists loved it. So what they started making these for the tourists, and it portrays the culture of the past, the bison hunt, the Sundance. These things were in the past there, and you can see them on there, the horse, the hunt. Very popular with the tourist items, and the form is animals, bison, teepee, similar to Hollow Bulls. All right, Great Serpent Mound. This is famous for, it's an earth mound, and its function was, it's a lot like, it shows you, okay, they don't know what it is, but it could be about the summer solstice. So it's famous because it's like Stonehenge, and it connects to astronomy. The form, it's earthwork, but it's an animal form because it looks like a serpent. But they think that here the head hits the summer solstice will line up with the head of the animal there, similar to our buddy Spiral. Well, also kind of like Spiral Jetty, but maybe more like Stonehenge. All right, bandolier bag. This one is function. It was a decorative version of a high object of prestige made for women, so it was functional and beautiful, meaning it's a bag that you could use, but it was beautiful. So it was an ammunition bag they beautified with beads. Basically, they took European beads, cloth from trade, and they incorporated the European form into this traditional bag, bandolier bag. All right, that is the Americas.